What's up, y'all? Welcome to season 2 of The Glow Show, all about you. This season is also going to be a visual version, so if you're watching on YouTube, excited to have you here. This episode 36, we're going to be talking about how to navigate social media during a crisis. Because we don't ever get better at grieving, we only get used to how it affects us mentally. Hello and welcome to The Glow Show, season 2, all about you, where I help you navigate a new area of life, business, or social media. As an empath who has dedicated her platform to education and service, I'm honestly learning as I go, but sharing my lessons along the way. If you'd like a question answered live, please visit $1 Million Shortcut, purchase a copy, and then text your order number to the... Hello and welcome to The Glow Show, season 2, all about you, where I help you navigate a new area of life, business, or social media. As an empath who has dedicated her platform to education and service, I'm honestly learning as I go, but sharing my lessons along the way. If you'd like a question answered live on an episode, please visit $1millionshortcut.com, purchase your copy, and then text your order number to the number at the top of the screen. Learning, loving, and living out loud, that is The Glow Show. All right, y'all, welcome back. This is cool. The visual version, first of all, I'm very excited about. Relaunching my YouTube channel has been something that has been on my to-do list for the last, if I say 5 years, would you judge me? But honestly, it's been something I've wanted to do for a while, and making my platform more visual is not only an amazing way to connect deeper with my community and with people listening and watching, but also force myself outside of my comfort zone. As a bubbly introvert, as I like to call myself, oftentimes I do things that are comfortable and safe behind a screen. I grew up learning coding and graphic designing because it had nothing to do with my face, nothing to do with like live presentation. But I know a lot of growth and a lot of my next level is gonna happen with video. So excited to do this for you guys. And this is also a really interesting season of life right now. So this is the first thing that I'm posting. I need to move this, I'm sorry. Okay. So this is the first thing that I'm posting on any type of social media in the last week, because ever since Dante Wright happened, I've just been shook. And I think I've come to the realization that's gonna happen. I've come to the realization that if I can't control what happens in the world, I need to be able to control how it affects me. Personally, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And as an empath, guys, it is the hardest thing in the world. And I genuinely envy people who can consume triggering or traumatizing media and then get back to business as usual and post as if like, oh, it's just another day. And it's not that I want to get there, but I do envy having that emotional capacity to just move forward and say, you know what, this is the world, I can't change this. So I'm learning as I go. And that's why I'm excited about season 2 to be all about you guys, learning all the things that I've learned and just the lessons that I learn along the way, just basically sharing that with you guys as I go along. So I'm excited for this season. Thank you guys for listening to season 1. If you haven't been able to, please binge the 35 episodes, but I'm excited to kick off season 2. So talking about how to navigate social media during a crisis, I think the first thing you want to do is be aware of your triggers. One of the things for me is media that shows Black death. I don't want that to be commodified more than it already is. So if it's a video, a photo, like I don't need to see it. I don't want to see it. So if I know that people are going to be sharing that heavy after something happens, it means I have to avoid social media. I can't control what people post. I can't monitor and police that. So what I have to do is I just have to log off of social media. And that's my own personal boundary that I've had to set for myself after just being self-aware of like what sets me off and knowing that I don't have the capacity to spiral right now. Like I don't, I can't. And so being aware of your triggers is the first thing that you need to do, navigating social media during a crisis, during another tragedy, especially in the community, especially in communities of color. The second thing is don't share triggering content without a warning. So I'm talking to allies right now. You guys might not understand or might not be aware that like we don't need to see more videos. We don't need to see more police brutality in order for us to understand how bad it is. Like we are very aware, intensely, acutely aware of just how bad the situation is, and we don't need to see another video to be convinced, because rage is lucrative, and a lot of times people get off on seeing people of color like emotionally triggered and just outraged, and we don't want to give them that. So just be aware that like maybe you're sharing it to inform, you know, your fellow allies that, hey, this is happening, we need to step up. But share it with the trigger warning, and if you're going to share it in a carousel, make sure it's not the first slide on the carousel. The next thing, clean up your feed, not to create a silo of people who, you know, believe the same things as you, but to protect your own wellness. And I think as we mature, as we grow older, because if you think about it, how many people from your middle school or high school do you like actively keep in touch with? Oftentimes when we come out of that situation being school, sounds really oppressive, but well, for me, when we come out of that situation, a lot of us realize that life molds us for the better or for the worse. You know, we go through stuff. And that helps give us perspective, maybe depth, maybe wisdom. It adds layers to our humanity. And for some people, that's not a good thing. So just understand that I know you might feel bonded by the amount of years, the number of years you've known someone, but if that's the only thing keeping you guys together, you do not have to like stay locked into a situation where you feel like you have to see their content all the time. And you know, if it creates an awkward situation, you can always mute accounts that you don't actively want to unfollow. So clean up your feed. The next thing I want to mention about navigating social media during a crisis is that if you want to bring awareness and you want to talk about it, posting on your stories isn't enough, unfortunately. I know a lot of people, you know, your feed is a big deal. I promise you, I'm the first one to advocate for a pretty feed. I'm a visually aesthetic person. I love a good feed. But if you're only posting on your stories to denounce police brutality, it's not enough. Because what's going to happen is after 24 hours, it's going to be gone. And you're going to have a lot of people, especially people of color, who are going to be checking on their ally friends like, okay, who posted, who showed up and who didn't, who's being silent, who's posting business as usual. And you can say, oh, I posted in my stories. But for that person that, you know, maybe they logged off social media for 72 hours and they're coming back and they're doing their checkups, because, you know, we do them. We do them. Not to be petty, but just to see who's really rocking with us. It's really hard to differentiate who's walking the walk and who's talking the talk. So, you know, if you post it in your stories and we don't see anything on your feed, that's really disheartening for us. So make sure you're also posting on your feed. The next thing is, I know you might not know what to say and you don't want to say the wrong thing, but that can no longer be an excuse. Even in you mentioning that you don't know what to say is enough. That's enough. I think it's important for us to stop waiting for perfection and stop waiting for safety, because when we post, we want to feel secure and safe with what we're saying. We want to know that we've hit all the words, we've used all the right terms, and I understand like that adds to our confidence in wanting to speak up, but you've got to post, you've got to talk before you're ready. So just know that even if you don't know what to say, saying that is enough, but posting about it, bringing awareness, because again, the people that are in your network, it's this ripple effect. I can't access the dinner tables of your racist uncles, but they follow you on Instagram, so they'll see it, you know, so it's just important that you understand the power of your network and just the ripple effect. And the last thing I wanted to mention is come back at your own pace, but know that your reputation precedes you. What I mean by that is I knew immediately when it happened, I was like, I'm taking the week off. There was no ifs, ands, buts. I actually even had to reschedule 12 different podcast interviews and coaching calls. And bless the heart of my clients, like 10 of them came to me and were like, Glow, let's push this back. Like, this is not, you know, they just know. And that's allyship. That is allyship. Just knowing that, like, I don't want to force this person who's also like carrying the emotional capacity and weight of something really triggering to also have to be forced to show up and serve, knowing that they're probably pouring from an empty place. Like that for me that's allyship. But knowing that I wasn't going to come back for a week, that does not mean that, I think we need to just give ourselves more grace. My friend sent me something about how we need to stop taking social media breaks and you're not consistent, and how if you're a business, like your business can't take breaks. You can take a break, but your business can't take breaks. And that's the power of a website. Like that's the power of a social media presence. Like what if I'm posting or not, my business is open. Like people are still booking, people are still buying. I'm literally still making money without having to show up on social media. That's a power of having an effective business and a strong online presence. So just understand that, like, come back at your own pace, especially if you're a person of color. Like, do not let people try to shame you for needing to take a step back, whether that's a week, a month, a quarter. I regularly dream of the day where I can just like uninstall social media for a year and just live and just be. We're always so on. And I really, even though this week has been hard, being offline has made it a lot easier. And so I want to encourage you guys to give yourself that freedom and that permission. So again, we don't get better at grieving. We only get used to how it affects us mentally. So just know that. And I wanted to share this scripture that I read this morning that was so perfect, because I regularly lose hope in humanity, in myself. Like, come on, I'm human. So this scripture was just, it was so on time. And I know God speaks to us in so many ways, and this was one of the ways he spoke to me, and I just loved it. So I wanted to share. It's from Galatians 6:9 from the NIV version. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. And it's just so important to remind ourselves that, we're not doing this for the prize or the goal at the finish line, but you're going to get weary doing good work. You're going to get tired. You're going to be exhausted. It's all very tiring, but just know that, like, your strength comes from him, and he's watching you. He's proud of you. He sees the work you're doing, and the movement that you're creating is far beyond what you can even conceptualize. So just keep going. And that's my word of encouragement for you guys. All right, the next section of the podcast is what I'm currently doing. So I'm currently reading The Code of the Extraordinary Mind by Vishen Lakhiani, and I'm reading this as well with my Social Educator Academy. So if you guys didn't know, I launched the socialeducators.com, and I'm going through my first cohort, the founding members, and that's been really exciting. We're entering week 3, and the class will reopen sometime in August. So be on the lookout for that. What I'm currently thinking is that I have to find a way to take ownership of my emotions, no matter what happens around me. And again, this is the triggering stuff that's going to be happening on the news all day, every day. How can I continue to take ownership so that it's not crippling me every time it does happen? What I'm currently buying, flashcards, which is super, super old school. I don't think I've had to use them since like 7th grade science, but I'm currently learning Russian and Mandarin. Maybe that's another podcast explanation, but I was going through one of my lessons, and he was like, okay, well, make sure you get flashcards. And I was like, there's an app for everything. Like, why would I need flashcards? And he just reminded me, he was like, it's not so much the accessibility. Like, of course you can find an app or you can find a website that can show you vocabulary words and you can practice that way. But in the action of you writing something, writing a word, phonetically spelling it out, that is practice. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's so true. And I literally preach this with journaling. The reason journaling is so powerful is because you think through a thought 3 times. You think it, you write it, and then you read it. And now that thought is fully processed before you like project it on someone else. So I just loved getting that reminder. What I'm currently learning is that being an empath sucks. It's amazing because we have layers and perspective to us, but it sucks because everything is so heavy. And some days I just wish I didn't care. I really genuinely wish sometimes I just didn't care about people's feelings, about changing the world, about starting a movement. Like, it's all very heavy, but This is the life I've been given, and I have to be responsible. What I'm currently manifesting is embracing the unknown. So there's so much rapid change happening with my business, and if you guys know me, or if you're getting to know me, you know that I'm very introverted and very private, despite having a very public platform and, you know, a podcast, a YouTube channel, a Instagram, a Facebook, a Twitter, a Pinterest, a TikTok. You would think, oh, you know, why so much social media platform for a private person? And it's like, I know I have a voice and I know I meant to share my story, but it doesn't change the fact that I want to be private. And there was I think Francesca Ramsey said it in her book best. She was like, we will never see the inside of Beyonce's bathroom. Like we just won't. That's not something she would ever share. But that doesn't take away from her work and her music, you know. And so I think it's important for people to realize, like, you can still want to share your work while maintaining a sense of privacy about just everyday things that people might want to see for some reason, because I do understand that people feel more connected the more of you share. And if I keep being this transparent, then people will feel like they know me, but it's a one-way street, and they know everything about me and I know nothing about them. So it creates this very delusional dynamic, and it's really hard. You guys should see some of the DMs and emails I get. What I'm currently manifesting, I said that, embracing the unknown. What I'm currently praying for is courage and commitment. I learned that I'm committed to my uncommitted ways, and I love the fact that I can just kind of break loose and break free at any given moment. And again, I can be committed in spurts. Like, if the commitment doesn't require like super, like, the reason I don't want to buy a house yet because I don't know where I want to live. I don't know where I want to live. And I love being able to go with the flow, and I love the flexibility of changing my mind at the last minute, which is not healthy, but that's who I am. And I'm embracing that, but I'm also hoping for deeper commitment as I continue to grow as a CEO, as a person, as a business, all of the things. When I'm currently watching Blackish, I'm on season 6. I think on the last episode, I left off on season 2. So I have flown through 4 seasons in a couple months. And oh, it's such a, guys, if you haven't seen Blackish, well, I'm sure you have, I'm so late. But Blackish touches on so many things about the Black experience without making the show about race. So it almost draws people in with humor and everyday scenarios, but there's a Black history lesson with almost every episode, and it's so beautifully done. And the writer of the show is just genius, so brilliant, and I'm obsessed with that show. And I'm actually I'm a season away from catching up, and that's going to be a sad day because I love knowing that I can just binge 3 episodes if I want to. What I'm currently avoiding, people, I love my friends. They all know, like, not to text me being left alone is my love language. Like, I want to be loved and left alone at the same time. People know that, like, I need to just work through stuff on my own, and them sometimes checking up on me gets overwhelming. Even on my birthday, I still have messages I haven't responded to. It's too much. But I think, yeah, my friends just know that, like, yeah, Glow needs space. The space is literally my love language. Not to be bombarded by people, but they also know that if I reach out to them, like, you know, they'll be like, okay, she's ready, you know. So I really appreciate that about my friends who just understand how I am. But in general, I am avoiding people everywhere, in person, online. I say this as I have a podcast that is speaking to people. Sorry. It's just a lot. I take in a lot of energy, and I have to guard myself against strange energy that slips through the cracks. But I'm currently loving the weather. It's been bright, and that helps with my mood. Okay. Next section of the podcast is a question. How do you balance sanity, mental health, and activism? So normally a question is from a reader. If you go to milliondollarshortcut.com, purchase your copy, and then text your order number and your question to the number at the top of the screen. But this question I asked myself because I know a lot of people are probably wondering. So balancing sanity, mental health, and activism. The answer is you can't. At every given moment, I have to choose. And this week, I chose sanity. I chose mental health. And then next week, I'll choose activism. So I think this, I don't know, illusion that you can do it all, have it all, say it all. I mean, I'm sure you can. I don't want that though. I don't want that. And I think it's important for people, especially women, especially Black women. We carry so much on our back. We are born with these superhero capes, and we're just trying to save everyone and everything but ourselves. And it feels so good to be in a place where I'm looking after me this week. And that's okay. That was it. All right. In season 2, I'm trying to keep the episodes down to 15 minutes. So I hope you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed that, so that you can kind of listen to them every morning, kind of as your wake up, pick me up. I don't know. But if you enjoyed this, again, please share it to your Instagram. Thank you so much for listening. Let me know your favorite lesson, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts so this can reach more people. I really appreciate it. And YouTube, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you guys again soon. Be sure to subscribe, like, notifications, all of the fancy stuff I have to say. Bye, guys. What's up, YouTube? Glow here, and welcome to season 2, All About You, the Glow Show, the visual version of the podcast. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube if you want to watch the podcast, or you can listen to Spotify or Apple Podcast. Thank you so much for joining, and